So first, well, we'll start with you, and just tell everyone who you are, and which of the films you worked on, and maybe just for fun, tell us what the original concept was, why you made this film, what you were trying to accomplish, kind of in short form. You know, just the broad brush strokes.
I'm Gina Hendry. I co-wrote and directed Gaslighter. Anastasia, my lead actress, and we had worked together on another short before, and we wanted to work together again, and we wanted to make some things really spooky. And so we thought about what that would be, and we wanted to talk about what scares us as women, and it's not being believed and being dismissed and sort of dehumanized. And so that was where we sort of started, and we were sharing moments in our lives that where that sort of thing had happened. So that was where that idea came from.
I'm Robert Harney. I wrote and direct Inner Darkness, and that was just kind of a tale. Well, we kind of mixed it up a little bit because that was kind of a tale of myself. I think we've all gone through some domestic violence and stuff in the past. And I kind of flipped the characters around because I wasn't quite comfortable, ready to tell my own tale, so I kind of flipped the characters around with the male and female. And it's just, I think we all kind of have that inner savior, but yet we kind of feel like it's an inner demon that is there in waiting, ready to save us. But sometimes I feel like it kind of goes too far, and it kind of takes control, and we can't really control it, and it kind of does that bad thing for us, and that's kind of the direction I went with it. But it was there to help, but sometimes it's a little too much help.
Hi, my name is Karina Lillian Ripper. I was the writer and director of Chispa, which means spark in Spanish. Thanks so much for coming out. I'm Mexican American and I'm a director, and I think just being in this industry, you know, I have to deal with certain men in the workplace. And so I kind of wanted a bit of a revenge fantasy to be able to let out some of that anger and frustration in a way.
Yeah. And what a cool vision that was. I think. You know, like when we first reviewed this film, we didn't expect. We didn't. It's the slide you're seeing is like the beginning of the slideshow, and so there's a little musical cue at the beginning. Anyway, we didn't expect what a cool monster you would also have. You know, besides what we see, how the security guard treats a working, skilled professional who comes in just because she's a woman. Besides that, the monster is a really interesting twist. That's practical, right?
Yeah, so thank you. The creature was practical with a combination of the VFX of the electricity. I found this really great behind the scenes film of Attack the Block. And they kind of talk about utilizing a practical creature suit with the layered effects for the teeth. And so that's kind of where I was like, oh, okay, you do this aspect. And then I watched a lot of my partner and I, it was my partner and I, and then this woman, Julia Calabrese, who's local to Portland. The three of us basically made the costume together. And my husband and I, we watched a lot of Stan Winston intro videos to learn about creature fabrication. I weirdly am into upholstery, so furniture upholstery, so I was just like, oh, it's just a big sofa. So that helped me understand that aspect. But my husband and Julia really figured out the intricacies of creating the hunch and the suit and the rig for the mask and the lights. And then Damien Riddell, he was our lead VFX artist, and he really came in early on, and we did like a lot of tests and just really did a lot of previs to figure out where we were going to add electricity and how and all that.
I really liked the way that well, the sort of the empowering nature when the beast appears, and she does that great dance in the like abandoned, it's a mall, I guess, right, abandoned mall. I thought that was really cool that she sort of felt empowered to kind of change, her circumstance a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I'm Muffy Delgado Connolly, who plays Luce. She had reached out to me cold, and I knew, she's an incredible choreographer and performer, and I was just like, so I had this idea in my head where I was like, oh, there's this person that's Latina that like, has this incredible skill, and also like budgets are always like restricting, although the Lloyd Mall is a great location in town.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right.
That is very reasonable. So I knew that location, I knew this artist. I just was like thinking about what do I have access to, and then Fujifilm came on board and blew it all up, like in the way that made me able to dream bigger with the creature and the effects.
What did you film it on?
The GFX, I think it's the GFX the second. It was a new camera for them. We actually had a prototype that we were shooting on. It was part of the project was to shoot it on that camera.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Yeah, we've been seeing over the past couple of years a resurgence in film submissions.
This was not on film. Fujifilm does have digital cameras.
Okay.
And look like film.
Gotcha. I'm going to skip over to Robert here. I think there's some. Just push that dirty mind just way down. I'm now sorry I said it.
One's enough.
There's some similarities between your two stories, I think. Because they both involve this kind of inner creature that comes out kind of when you need it most, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, it was kind of I kind of put inner darkness because it's like even the abuser, there's an inner darkness within them that they can't really control as well. So it's kind of on both sides. And I think with being a victim, it's enough is enough, and at some point you have to do something. And sometimes it's just like an inner demon comes out. And you might think it's like, here's my savior, this is the one that's gonna save you, but it's like, oh shit, all right, a little too far. But fuck it, you deserve it, fuck off. So, so it's kind of a dual essence to it, where it's like inner darkness within all of us, and it's, do we become subservient to it, or are we able to, understand it and live with it, and kind of keep it in check, keep it under control, and use it for something good.
One of the little moments I like is there is sort of a funny moment in the closet with the laundry, right, with the clothes, in what is otherwise really a pretty serious piece. Why did you choose to have that kind of moment of levity in there for someone who essentially is the bad guy?
Yeah, when I was kind of looking at it as, she kind of feels that it's kind of getting away from her, but yet she doesn't want to kind of let up to him that she knows is starting to realize that it is her that is the thing that's out there. So she's like, oh shit, what do I do? I gotta play it off. I'm just gonna bury him in clothes until I can figure it out. It's just kind of like a stopping point, just kind of pause and like, okay, I gotta rethink this because it's kind of getting away from me. But it was also, I've been watching a lot of the films here and other festivals where it's like a lot of fun, want a little humor, want something funny and campy. So I was like, it might be cute to throw something in there that's kind of goofy and funny and kind of breaks it up a little bit. So we kind of put it in the middle, towards like you're not just like the whole time just like, oh shit, here we go. This is just another domestic violence thing, and we're gonna beat people. But it's like, it's a little funny because it's like, we're in the closet, and there's the other thing with the closet where he's telling her, come out of the closet, come out of the closet. It's like, sometimes people aren't ready to come out of the closet, and that's okay. Let them be for a while, fuck. They'll come out when they're ready, but if you're gonna force them out, you're gonna get fucked up. So there's a lot of underlying things that we put in there.
You also have a monster. Do you want to talk a little bit about that makeup and the performer?
Yeah, so we got into contact with Christina Cordum just by happenstance, and she came on and she was like, yeah, I got some free time, I'd love to work on it, and we're like, great, we'd love to have you. So, I feel like I'm losing it.
Yeah,
So
one
she
of the
came
lines
on,
is a little flaky.
yeah, so she came on and she was like, what's kind of some of your ideas? And we sat down one day and we kind of went through it. And I was like, I love the movie Legend, and with the devil and the big horns, but I didn't want to go too big, but I wanted like some horns on there. So we kind of came up with that, and after about a week, she was like, I got this idea, and it was just beautiful and wonderful, and she was amazing. And she came on one day, we did all the makeup, all the effects, just in one day with her, and we had a blast. We still have the horns, I have them at home, you know, I wear them once in a while. But yeah, if you get a chance, Christina Cordum, Ravenous Studios, she's amazing, she's in Vancouver.
Now Virginia, for Gaslighter, we have not seen a film like this before. We really like that split screen approach, and at the beginning, I think you're sort of like, why am I seeing two sides? It doesn't really, you don't really start to understand until probably halfway through the film that things aren't playing out exactly the same way. And it's about who she's talking to, and you know, the decisions she makes. Was that always the idea from the beginning, to do this sort of split screen, sort of dual storytelling?
Every time I try to make a short film, I want to challenge myself to do something that I haven't done before. You're limited in your sort of resources and budget, but no, you don't have to answer to anyone. It's sort of like no stakes filmmaking. So I wanted to try something with style, but I didn't want it to feel gimmicky, and I wanted to, since I had been writing for a long time and directing is a little bit newer for me, I wanted to really focus on the visuals for the messaging. And so I was in a Brian De Palma phase, and as you do. And my editor said, well, why don't you, if you're trying to lean into style, why don't you think about split screens? And I thought, cool, but like, how can I do it in a way that we haven't seen a million times? And so I thought, well, this might be interesting. And that sort of, not the very first split screen, but where she's at the door, I wanted that to be a sort of moment where you're not connected to the choices that you're making. You're disassociated, you're watching yourself do things that you're not connected to, and you do it anyway, and that's where the first big split screen moment happened. And then yeah, I wanted it to be a sort of progression, and then I thought, you know, it'd be nice to have like this sort of sliding doors. My DP calls it a choose your own adventure moment. But yeah, it takes a little bit of time to get caught up to it as an audience member, but I hope it pays off. I hope it does.
I think it's notable that it changes when she's communicating with her ostensibly girlfriend.
Right.
Right. And that the advice changes quite a bit from being sort of dismissive to being like, you should like listen to your feelings, right?
And I've had some people sort of comment like, why don't you just have her listen to her voice? And I thought, well, I don't know about you, but sometimes I need that extra validation when I'm making a choice like that, or if I feel like something's not right and I don't necessarily trust myself, but like having that girlfriend, I can just call and be like, I'm not an asshole, I'm not crazy, right? And they're like, yeah, you're good, we get it.
I mean, how often do we really listen to our impulses? Like, probably way less than we should.
Certainly.
So it's you've managed to make a film that has both a happy and a tragic ending.
It's weird. You know, I don't really I like horror films. I love all types of horror films, but I like ones that are entertaining and don't make you feel like so bleak and dark, especially because as a female filmmaker making a feminist film, I want to leave some hope and empowerment. So I like that there's an option that you can say, she gets away. And if you listen to your instincts, you might get away too.
Yeah, because, and I think on a sort of a logistical level, if all it had was the happy ending, so to speak, if all it had was if she got away, you know, then you'd be questioning whether or not you actually had a horror movie on your hands.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, because nothing happened in this movie. It was really important to me that I do all of the things that happen before an actual confrontation. I didn't want any, because some people had suggested, well, can we see like his hands on her or some, and it was really important that that was not part of it, that it was implied. The idea being that the danger is still there. It's always there.
That's wonderful. Yeah, we really enjoyed it. I'm sure
Thank
that
you
some
so
of the-
much for having us, by the way. It was
Of course.
such an honor. This programming is so good here at this festival. And it's been, I feel like so honored to watch this and like, oh, you did a great movie. I'm so honored. Thank you so much. And your films are so great. Congratulations.
It is not true at all that your film doesn't measure up to all the other films.
Well, you know.
And it's, you know, we try to have a great variety of programming and stuff from all over the place and all different kinds of filmmakers, all different kinds of subjects. And so, you know, it's all the best as far as we're
Thank you.
concerned. Yeah. I'm sure there are some questions in the audience. Yeah, I'm looking right at you. Yep.
This is kind of a general question for all the panelists, but what is something that you would take from these short films into your next project? Whether it's like a lesson or a little prop, whatever.
I'll jump in. I think that one of the big lessons that I'm taking away from this one was, I think the last two films that I did in the past were very campy, very comical, a lot of fun. This was my first take on something a little more serious, and I think my lead, Mary's in the audience right now, and I think working with an actor and giving them space to really get into that emotion, get into that feeling was something that I was able to really connect with her and kind of learn that, you know, if you give them a little space, let them have their process, they're going to give you exactly what you need. So just be patient and wait and let them do what they need to do. So I can't wait for my next project to work with more amazing actors and maybe Mary again in the future. So yeah, that's what I'm taking away.
Awesome.
For me, I have worked with the same team. This is the second time working with the same team. And someone told me, don't be afraid to reach out to professionals who make the kinds of movies that you want to make. How do I want to say this? You do want to work with your friends, of course, but if you're trying to sort of level up, don't be afraid to reach out and take big swings. Like my DP has shot the Hatchet movies, and you know he's shot so many features, and they won't say no to you just because you're making a short film. I think that was a really important thing because you know I tend to be a little bit modest and not want to ask, but I think it's really important to just put that aside and say like I want to level up, I want to be the best I can be, I want to work with professionals, and a lot of times you'll find them they will say yes because they like you, they like your project, and then you have like a team. And I think as a director, knowing like you have a really good DP and an editor, like those are make or break positions. And so I feel really fortunate that like I took that advice, and I would just continue to give that advice. Like don't be afraid to ask.
Definitely not. So before making Chispa, I had co-directed with my husband a couple of narrative shorts, but I had started directing on my own these like short documentaries, and I had this like commercial client that I was like about to direct a big commercial campaign, and then something happened and it fell through, not any fault of my own, but at the same time, I had a breast cancer scare, and so I was just kind of at this like really bottom low, and my therapist just like encouraged me to just write something fun. And I'd been on this like documentary route, so I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna fuck it, write something fun. And the Chispa is what came out. It just like flowed out of me, and I was just like, I don't know how I'm gonna make this, but we're gonna figure it out. And it just, bit by bit, anybody I talked to about it, it was really easy to get people on board and excited about it. And it just kind of taught me that, like, to believe in myself, to believe in the stories I want to tell, to take up that space, and that there's a community, and particularly here in Portland, Oregon, that really wants to support historically underrepresented voices. And so that's a really beautiful aspect. And I've since, like, because of Chispa, I directed another short film through the AFI DWW Plus program this last year. So I just had a lot of, like, success from taking that initial step, just writing something that was just for me.
Awesome. That is actually about all the time we've got, but that was a great question. Thank you. I want to do something a little different. We'll see if it works. I want you to applaud for each one of them individually. I think, you know, it's always as a sort of a young, not young necessarily, but as a indie filmmaker starting out, it can be a little confrontational to have your films play on a screen with an audience and everything. But I think it's really important that everyone understands, like, we love what you're doing.
Yeah.
So let's hear it for Virginia and Gaslight. And Robert and Inner Darkness. And let's hear it for Chispa.